We're back again, Dan.
Hey, buddy. We're going to be making a habit out of this shit.
I know it. We're making a habit out of it. Drinking Appletinis, right? And whatever it is you're drinking over there today, I don't know.
I'm taking it easy today. Go ahead.
No. It's just, it is Appletinis weekend, and you've been drinking bourbon, which is fine, because I get it. Appletinis can be a bit much for people, But, been drinking Appletinis, you've been drinking your bourbon, and this podcast has been going pretty good. We've been getting some really cool guests on here. Last week's Francesca Capaldi from Last Night at Terrace Lanes. The week before, the director of that film, Last Night at Terrace Lanes. And we had a contestant from the Squid Game, the reality series, the challenge on. And so it's been a great start to season 2 here on the podcast. And I got to tell you, it gets even better today. It really does. It does. But before we get to that, what is going on with you?
Oh, I'm taking it easy. It was a rough weekend, man. Yesterday was like the football black hole. For those, we're recording this a week prior to when it releases. So, we just saw the conference championship games yesterday, and that neither one went remotely how I was rooting. So,
Yeah, me either. I was hoping for a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl, and I got the exact opposite, which, by the way, I could care less about now.
Yeah. Now the Super Bowl is all about, will we get a Deadpool 3 trailer?
Yes, which hopefully we will. I think we will. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. And we get to see, Schwarzenegger as Agent State Farm.
Yeah. Did you watch his show, Fubar?
I did. I did, and I loved it. I thought it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was so cheesy. It was perfect. Yeah. It was so 80s Schwarzenegger, him with the one-liners, and the surrounding characters were hilarious. I love them.
I love Monica Barbaro. I liked her in Maverick, Top Gun Maverick. We got to get her on the show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, after our guest this week, man, we'll just ask that person to hook us up, because they're probably friends. Seeing how, all those LA people hang out with each other now. So, I let a cat out of the bag and said LA person. Whoops. But we better get to it. We better get to our guest.
Before we do, it's a kind of a holiday here on the Appletini. It's like a national holiday here on the show, right?
It is. I'm ashamed of myself for actually forgetting.
Yeah, I would think.
Because, one of these days we're going to get this guy on the show. But today, you know whose birthday it is, Dan? Whose birthday is it?
It's the great mustache himself, Tom Selleck.
Yes, Tom Selleck, Magnum PI. Dun, 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 dun. Hold on a second. Wait a second. I know for a fact. Yes. All right. I don't want to play.
You played it too long. Now you blew our budget. We got to pay for that now.
I know. We got to pay for that song, and they're probably going to flag it. So in the edit, I'm going to have to, garble it up so that it can't recognize it. But anyway, Dan, I think we need to play that theme song so we can get to our guest.
Let's do the other theme song. Not the one you played.
Yes, we got to play the theme song, which has been dubbed the best part about this podcast. I can't argue with that. I can't argue with it either. I think the song's amazing. The incredible Jeremy Ragsdale, ladies and gentlemen.
Appletinis with Ken. Appletinis with Ken. Oh yeah. Appletinis with Ken. Oh. Appletinis with Ken. Oh yeah. Oh. Appletinis with Ken. Appletinis with Ken. Oh yeah.
And we're back.
Did you say ladies and gentlemen?
Ladies and
it's like gentleman salami.
Gentlemen. I haven't even had one sip of Appletini, and I'm already slurring my words. This is I think it's the headphones that do it to me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think they cause me to slur my words. Well, let me enunciate a little bit better now. So anyway, Dan, go ahead and introduce our guest for me, please.
Guys, today we are bringing the arty party to the podcast. Our guest is a friend of ours, a local guy from the DMV who has headed out west and has been working steadily for more than a decade. He's appeared in some of your favorite shows: Glee, New Girl, The Middle, Shameless, Goldbergs. He co-starred as Artie Smalls on Disney's Liv and Maddie. He anchors one of the segments of our movie, Comedy of Horrors, Volume 1. And he's in the hilarious movie Blockers alongside John Cena, Leslie Mann, and Ike Barinholtz. And he's currently playing Mason, the intern from hell, on ABC's Not Dead Yet, which returns for its second season this Wednesday, February 7th. Welcome back to the show, Jimmy Bellinger.
Jimmy! There he
Massive
is.
applause.
Massive
Here I am.
applause.
Oh my gosh, it's so loud. Oof.
How you been?
guys?
Oh, we're
Good.
great.
How's it going, man?
Yeah.
We are great. We are great. So what's it like out in LA today? 75 and sunny?
Actually, yes. It is very. This was one of these, that warm stuff that's been happening all over. It hit us pretty good. So we're today's a warm, lovely day. I can't complain. But we're gonna get cold again. We're gonna get cold for LA.
We're going to get cold again. It'd be like 60 degrees.
Yeah, 55.
Okay.
That's cold.
Yeah, we had a nice warm snap earlier in the week, and it got up like really nice, and it went back. We're cold again, like bitter cold again. So
Yeah. No.
enjoy it,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, I
Yeah.
will.
Enjoy every second of it because,
will.
well, you know what it's like here in the summer times too, Jimmy. When it gets humid, it just gets nasty.
Yeah, that's I don't miss that either. I when I'm there, I just stay indoors because it's so humid. Whereas it's a little drier here. It's a little
Yeah.
nicer. Not that I
It's-
tan or anything, obviously.
It's not the heat; it's the humidity. That's what they say.
Right.
But
Exactly.
anyway, so you're out there in LA. Things are going good right now. The sun is shining. It's 75 degrees, and you got your series Not Dead Yet coming out this Wednesday night. So when this plays, it'll be a couple days before the premiere of this season. And
That's right.
we wanna know, man, how excited are you about this premiere coming up?
I'm excited. It was a long year last year with the strikes and everything, and we had finished the first season last December, and then it premiered, early last year, and then we had a beautiful strike that lasted a very long time and basically shut down the city. In terms of the industry, which impacts a lot of businesses out here. It impacts the whole city. So once it ended, and as soon as it ended, they were like, ready, we're going. They were ready. As soon as that strike ended, not long after, they had the date ready. They had everything going. And so very excited, happy to, get to be back on that show. It's a great show. I'm happy that they're having me. And I'm pumped, and I hope everyone else is, excited to see the new season. We've got some fun new faces, and it's going to be pretty fun.
Yeah, we saw it. Ken and I were talking just before. It looks like Brad Garrett's going to be joining the cast.
Yes, he is. He is now part of the cast, and he is hilarious. So that's going to be extremely fun.
Is he part of the newsroom, or part of the office space, or part of a different part of the life?
He is actually the CEO of the company.
Oh,
He
cool.
actually runs the business entirely.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you ever going to interact with him? Because if he's a ghost, that would be a no. Because
Right.
you wouldn't interact with him at all. But that's good. He's a CEO, and you work for that company. Sweet.
Yes. Yeah. No, we have some great guest stars though that will be playing ghosts, but he is he's a constant and very funny part of this new season.
My wife and I love the show, and Ken and I have talked about it. It feels like, obviously, Bill Lawrence has Ted Lasso and Shrinking. Those are his new shows over on Apple, but Not Dead Yet feels like the most Bill Lawrence-y, Scrubsy type thing that's on network television right now. It kind of balances the absurd, like you drinking vats of lobster butter, and all the ghost stuff, and then the funny, and then the heartfelt. So I feel like it's just one of the only shows that's kind of out there in that lane. And I think they do it really well.
It's nice because you do get that nice diverse spread of emotions that you get to and deal with. We have plenty of funny. It is a workplace comedy, but at the same time there is a lot of emotional parts of it, and so it does have this great balance of that. So you get a little bit of everything from it, which is really nice. And it did really well, which is great. It was
Yeah.
one of the biggest premieres for ABC in the last like 4 years or something, I think. And then even its numbers on Hulu were really good because after it shows on ABC, it pops over to Hulu, and it did really well there as well. So it's been one of the better shows for ABC in the last few years. Of course, they have Abbott Elementary and stuff who's doing super well too. But yeah, but in terms of just a new show, last year it did super well. So it was exciting, but it was definitely scary. You never know what's going to happen during the strike. Like plenty of things were getting canceled and stuff, and
Yeah.
so you just don't know what's going to happen, and you're always wondering. But thankfully, they held on to it, and they wanted to keep it going, and thankfully we are.
It's
That's
great.
awesome. Yeah,
You know what would make
fantastic.
it better, Ken? You know what would make people like it more is more Mason, more Jimmy.
I agree with that wholeheartedly because when I first started watching the show, I was like, at first I was kind of lukewarm to it, and I was like, let me watch another episode. And then I started to really get into it. And then you came on and you were, and I guess I'm kind of biased, but you were the funniest part of the show for me anyway. And I thought it was great. But I love Josh Bandy. I love his character on the show. I think his character is fantastic. Gina Rodriguez, she grew on me, man. She really did. And she just had this energy about her, and you just really liked her. And then, of course, Hannah Simone. But I have one question for you, Jimmy, about Hannah Simone.
Mm-hmm.
Did she ask about me?
No.
Are you serious? How could that be possible? She didn't ask about me.
It's very possible, I think.
She didn't. She didn't say, "Hey, Jimmy, I know you know Ken Arnold. How's he doing?" That nothing. Not even a.
No.
Damn it. All right. Well, anyway, but I think she's fabulous as well. I think she's great.
She is.
Lauren Ash is really great. Her roommate, the guy Rick Glassman that plays Edwards, he's funny. And you know what I really liked about it too, and you can talk about this, is it's a single camera comedy. And, you've worked on more traditional sitcom stuff with Liv and Maddie. I think that was more of a traditional sitcom. What's the difference there between the 3-camera setup to the single camera thing?
It is different. It is single camera and multi-camera, as they call it, comedies. They are very different for sitcoms. I will say though, just because it's a single camera comedy doesn't mean we're not using more than one camera.
Right.
But because they do shoot with 2 to 3 cameras sometimes, often. But I find that when you get to the multi-camera sitcoms, like your Friends, your Seinfeld, your 2.5 Men, or currently Mom, stuff like that, Two Broke Girls, stuff like that. Liv and Maddie. It's a little bit more like it feels a little bit more theatrical in a way, and in terms of theater, because you build these basically 3-walled sets, and they set the cameras up there, and you're kind of just performing out to those cameras, so it has a very theater-esque feel to it. Also, they're not doing as many tight shots. They're not as close. So it's kind of a broader form of comedy usually. And so there's also a lot of rehearsing. You kind of do rehearsals and things when you're doing those types of shows, because it really only takes like a couple days to film an entire episode of a multi-camera show. And most of those days you're just kind of blocking it all out. So then when you do get to those 2 days, you kind of have it all ready, and then it's just setting up those cameras and shooting it, and it moves pretty quickly on a multi-camera show. Whereas with single camera, you could be on a soundstage just like that, but it's we've got fully built sets. Like once you go on set, you're basically in that world, and then they're kind of setting the cameras up within there to kind of capture these moments. It's much more like filming a movie or something like that, anywhere where you've got your sets, you're ready to go. It's still fun, it's still silly, but you've got 5 full days of filming to get as much as you need to on all the different sets, and it's just a different process. definitely.
Is that how long it takes to shoot an episode? 5 days? Is that what they're shooting for?
So it's 5 usually. I mean, there's exceptions to everything, but most of the time, a half-hour show is 5 days,
Okay.
Monday through Friday schedule. Or, I mean, we actually recently had to do a Friday through Thursday schedule because of New Year's Day and then holidays and stuff like that. So things kind of had to get moved around. But yeah, usually most half-hour shows, it's 1 week, which is don't film on the weekends usually, so it's 5 days. And then
Mhm.
if it's an hour, then obviously it might be 10. But again, there are exceptions to
Sure.
that.
Sure. So, what's a typical day? Like, how early do you get there, and usually, what time do you leave when you're working on a set like that? Because in the movie world and feature films and things like that, the days could go from anywhere from 8 hours to 18 hours, depending on what you need to get and how complicated something is, or you only have that location for a certain amount of time. But you're in a studio, obviously. So, what is it more of a structured time frame?
Things happen, schedules, you can fall behind schedules sometimes, but I mean, a typical day, I've had a range where I've had a lot of times I'd say most of the time they're calling crew in around 7 o'clock in the morning. But there are times when it's earlier, or even if the crew call is 7, there, excuse me, they have actors coming in at 6, because you got to get ready. You got to start getting into your hair and makeup, your wardrobe.
Hmm.
So I've had days where I have to be there at 6 in the morning, because I'm in that first scene of the day. But they have a schedule, so sometimes you're brought in the middle of the day. They've already been filming for 5-6 hours potentially, or maybe a few, and you're popping in, you're getting your hair and makeup done, and then you're kind of getting ready. And then once they move on, you're going on stage, you're blocking it out, you're shooting it. It's definitely a relatively fast-paced thing, though. I mean, there is a lot of downtime sometimes when they have to set things up, or when they're setting up new shots. But television, and especially comedy in general, it moves pretty quick. You're there, you hit the ground running, and you just kind of go. And I think when you do it enough, you're used to it, you're ready to go. But the first time you can be a little overwhelming because you don't know what's going on. People are saying a lot of things that you're just like, I don't know what you're saying. But eventually, you kind of get used to it, and then it's just every set, even though they can be different, they're all very similar. You get on it, and you're like, okay, cool. And it's very casual. And this set especially has been great because everyone's super friendly. I wish I could say that that's always the case, but it's not. But on this show, like from the top down, it's a really good group of people that are all just really enjoying what they're doing, and we're having a lot of fun, which is what's, I think, pretty important. Yeah.
So I'm going to float this here for you. I think this would be a great character arc for you, and you can share it with the people because I know they love when you do that as actors.
Oh,
But,
100%. Yeah.
I think Mason should die in the last season and be her final ghost on
Ooh,
the last episode. That'd be great.
that would be cool.
That
Hey.
would be.
Yeah. But I don't want her to write my obituary. I just need to haunt her for the rest of her life.
Exactly. Yes. That would be fantastic. That would be
He
fantastic.
keeps screwing it up for her so she can't write it.
So
Right.
I'm really enjoying where we're going with this conversation right here because we have a lot of actors that listen to the show, and you're filling them in on what it's like to actually be on the set of
Sure.
a network series. This is fantastic. When you get your script and you're out there and you're working on it, do they ever allow you to kind of add anything in or improv a little bit on this set, or do you get it first and then they say, okay, here's a take for you guys, that kind of a thing?
100%. I mean, well, yeah, yes and no. I mean, I think it just depends on the scene, on what you're filming, on the schedule. Like, it just depends on a lot of things. It also depends on your director because every episode they usually have someone new coming in. They have kind of a rotation of directors that'll direct different episodes.
Mhm.
And I've worked with a couple that we've had in the first season as well. But I've had, you have some directors that like they have their shots really planned out, and so they're really focused on that, and like you can play around a little bit, like if you modify the lines a tiny bit, they don't usually get too upset. But it depends because occasionally the jokes are written, so you
Mhm.
got to make sure you're not stepping on the writer's job and messing with what they're doing, because they're obviously putting their hard work into this. But at the same time, like we had a director in the first season who we were shooting a scene and we got it, we got as, you shoot it X amount of times, and she was feeling good about it. So she said, okay, let's just do one for fun, And so we kind of, how the scene starts, how the scene ends.
Mhm.
And so as long as you start it and end it the right way, you have that whole space in the middle to kind of, play around within that structure and within that skeleton that the scene was written in, and just kind of have fun with it, which is nice. But even my first season back on this, I mean, my first episode back on this season, they were like, there was one thing where I kind of pop in and say a line, and I kind of played around with it a little bit, either changing the way I said it or changing, you even if you can't always change the words, you can change the tone or certain other ways that of doing it, where it kind of can translate differently. And so it's fun like that. Or occasionally they have you shout, like if you walk away and do some sort of off camera line that's ridiculous, or, it's with film, there are rules, but then there's always exceptions. So you never know what's going to happen, or who wants to do what, or if they're like, yeah, have fun or not. I think I always try and have ideas ready. I always come up with choices for the scene, so that I'm ready to go. And I don't love to do every take exactly the same, because I do want to give them options. Once they go back to edit it, they've got choices to use. And that's especially important. Again, you got to think about it when it's your coverage too. So you got to make sure you have those things ready. But at the same time, if they shoot you in a couple different shots, you can't go too crazy, because then it'll be weird if they go to a wide and then go to a tight of you and you're doing two completely crazy different things. Right. So there's a lot of things that you're thinking about at the same time and juggling.
That's great, because everything you just said goes back to what we are talking about in our workshops, in our classes in Actors Club, which you've been to a number of times. But we talk about exploring your character and doing things different ways and seeing, what sticks and what works and what doesn't. And I know when you get on a set, you really don't have that amount of time, because you only have so many takes to do it. But I think that the point is that, you need to be able to make a choice and then adjust off of that as quickly as you possibly can.
Right. And what was Tom Hanks said? He said, know your lines, be on time, and come with ideas. Come ready with ideas. And that's, like you just said, that's what you do.
100%. And plus, the thing is no matter how many times you practice it at home, once you do it with the other actors, you don't know how they're going to do it. And so then you've also got to be you got to be listening to them and be ready, because the way you planned on reacting a certain way to something, but then they don't do that, what you thought they were going to do. And so you're got to be like, okay. And you got to be able to listen to them and adapt quickly in the scene, and not get so stuck on everything that you do. You got to be ready to adjust and ready to kind of do the dance.
Earlier you were saying you were on a soundstage. That's one of the shows. So Melissa and I, my wife, we try to play this little game as we're watching shows, try to figure out, is that set a soundstage, or is that set practical? Like Scrubs, they actually had the hotel, the hospital. I really thought that, I knew that I figured that the apartment was a soundstage, but I thought maybe the office was a practical. It almost felt like, so that's great job on the set team, set crew, because it feels real. It feels practical.
I mean, when you're on it, it feels real. It's when you're on the outside of it, film sets are funny, because everyone, I think, it has these thoughts of what a film set's like, and these beautiful glorified view of film sets, and that it's got to be this fancy, beautiful thing, but they're like construction sites. And this set is literally, on the outside of it, it's just wood. It just looks like just like exposed wood. But when you go in that set, you feel like you're in an office, and there's computers that are working. There are TVs that are working. That, like, all this stuff is powered. Like it is all a workable space to a point. It really is a real space that they build, but there's little things here and there that, they don't show you. And there's a lot of times, like the elevator, obviously that doesn't go anywhere, and stuff like that. But like, it is a real thing. These are people that, these people basically built an office inside of a giant building. And when you're in there, really the thing is like, all these sets, they don't have ceilings. That's the thing that people don't. Yeah. None of them have ceilings. They'll have like some beams. They'll have things there, but like, it's always completely open, because they're just hanging lights. And so that's what people, I always say, if you ever watch sitcoms or anything, you'll notice they don't point the cameras up, because there's nothing up there. It's a big empty space. But those guys do a great job with those sets. They're really cool, and they are very detailed. like super detailed. The amount of detail that is put into sets, people will never know. There are so many little photos and little things for everybody that you'll just never quite notice. So it's cool.
So on the show, we like to talk about with our guests. We like to talk about things that motivate them, things that they do in their lives to push them forward, to get better, to do things to improve and educate themselves along the way in what they're doing. So if you had to give advice to a young actor who was just starting out and you wanted to help them along their journey, what would be something that you would tell somebody to help them, move ahead and progress?
That's a great question. There's so many things that you can do. Obviously, I think one thing that's always important is training. It's education, it's learning. Really good actors. It's rare for any actor to just be naturally perfect at acting and naturally amazing. A lot of times it takes work. It's acting's a muscle like anything else. Everyone's, people say that all the time, and it's true. If you keep working on it, you're gonna get better. So it's important to keep working on it, because you really don't. I know that people just want to start auditioning, people want to work, people want to get parts, and like some people can do that fresh. Anything can happen. There's always those cases, but most overnight successes obviously are not overnight. They've been doing it for years and years and years. They just happened to book that one movie that ended up being huge, and no one just really knew them before. But like, you have to just keep practicing, because you don't want to audition for people and not, that can actually be harmful to you too, if you just want to rush and get into it. But say you start auditioning and you're struggling because you just don't really have the ability quite yet, you don't know everything about what to expect, and you start doing auditions that aren't very good, casting directors will see those and go, oh, okay, well, maybe we're not gonna call this person back right now, because they're not really, they're not doing it for us right now. They're not really giving us the work that we need. Because when you do a good job for a casting director, if you do something nice, casting directors can really be big fans of yours, and they'll keep bringing you back, and they'll keep wanting to see you. And that kind of stuff can be super helpful in your career, because they'll keep bringing you back. I mean, there's so many shows I worked for that I auditioned for so many times and finally booked something on them, because that cast director kept doing it. I mean, even Liv and Maddie, I auditioned for that show. I auditioned for, that was years ago, but when I auditioned for it, I auditioned for a completely different role like weeks before the audition for Artie, and I auditioned for it and I got a call back, but I didn't get the part,
Mm-hmm.
and, was I sad? Did I cry and scream? Of course, for many days. But later, no, well, later when I got
When I
an
sobered up.
audition for the show, and this time it was for Artie, and I booked the part. I got a call back, booked the role. I was only supposed to be in one episode, and ended up doing 20 episodes over 4 seasons, So like, it's important to do the good work, because once you get people on your side, it's really helpful. And I think that people do need to understand too that like, rejection's okay. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna be rejected. No
Mhm.
one books every audition. I wish, but that's just not the case. And so like, I think just be positive about it, keep working on it, but like, really work at it. Like, just put in your skill. I know I'm saying a lot of things right now, but just like,
That's great. Keep
working
talking.
at it.
Keep talking.
I'm just saying, everyone gets concerned about acting, and it's like, just because you guys don't have you didn't get a yes on something or didn't book something doesn't mean that there's not like a way better role that you might book the next day. So it's like, just be prepared for all that, and the more work you put into it, the more you're gonna get out of it. I think it really does translate. I think you find that people who work hard at it, or people who are constantly trying to and really are trying to do it, they're working in one capacity or another. That's, yeah, I don't know. That's what I think. That's a lot of things.
That's part of what I'm trying to do here in the DMV. Is I'm trying to convince people here that that's what you have to do in the downtime, in the in-between time. You have to be doing things like Actors Club or a class or a workshop. It doesn't have to be my workshop. It could be any workshop.
Right.
But you need to be doing something somewhere. And I run across a lot of actors in this business, in this industry, in this market, who feel they got one role on something, whether it's an industrial video or whatever it is, and then they feel like, I'm an actor now and I don't have to do
Right.
anything. That's not true. That's far from the truth. It's something that you have to constantly be working on because essentially what I say is we're professional auditioners. That's what we
Yeah.
are. And then when we get the job, when we get the series like you're on now, then that's the beauty of it. That's the fun part. That's the icing on the cake. It's the work that you put in leading up to that. That is what we do. It seems like perpetuity. It's like we're constantly just doing that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to me too to hear you say, that you auditioned for something other than Artie, because it feels like we watched that. That was one of the shows that we watched as a family over here, and because Jack was still young enough that we were
Right.
watching Disney Channel at the time. That feels like it was tailor made for you. Like they saw you in something else and said, "That guy, we're going to write a part for him," and it became this thing. It doesn't feel like it was like I wouldn't imagine anyone else possibly playing that because it just is you.
It is. It's crazy to think, but that's a lot of things, I mean, I think that's a lot of roles. It's a lot of things where you just never know. And yeah, I just got lucky. I was very grateful. That was another one of those shows where it was a really good experience. The producers, writers were just awesome. And, they let me have fun with it, at the same time still respecting their writing and their jokes and stuff, but like having a good time with it. And it just all worked out. And that, I think also it helps, it's if you can get in, sometimes you get lucky, you get in on a show early and they like your part. And if it works, they'll bring you back. And I've had that happen to me on a few things. I did a few episodes on the show called The Middle, which was another single camera sitcom that I got to work on, which was another fun show. And that was the same thing. And actually, that was another time I auditioned for that so many times. I auditioned for that show many times. And then I actually booked a part on it, but at the same time I had booked one of my first co-stars I ever booked was on Secret Life of the American Teenager. And the same day that I booked it, they were filming an episode of The Middle that I booked, and they were on the stages next to each other. And I was like, this would be awesome. And they were like, they wouldn't let me do both. So I did the Secret Life show because I booked that first. And then while I was there, I was just seeing all the people for The Middle filming. And I was like, I could be doing that too. It's right there.
You can see Jimmy running back and forth like Mrs. Doubtfire,
yeah,
between the two sets.
I would love to. I actually did do that once for Liv and Maddie. I also was working right before I booked Liv and Maddie. I had done a handful of episodes on a show called Kickin' It. That was one of my first Disney shows that I ever got to work on. And there was one day where I did both shows in the same day. And thankfully they were on the same lot. So I worked on one, shot some stuff or rehearsed or what, I can't remember what we were doing that day, and then went and filmed on the other. So that was like a fun day. That was cool because it was like, oh wow, I'm going to two shows in the same day. It's crazy. Yeah. But again, on The Middle too, it was like one episode, and then they liked me and they would just kind of bring me back. Like once a season, they would just bring me back. They'd be like, we'll have an episode. And it was great. And I was always so grateful to be on that show. And I'm always grateful to be on any show, but yeah. It's just, you never know. That's what I mean. Like you like, as much as people can say, well, this happens, this, you never know. Anything can happen. You just don't know. Any opportunities you get, take them, love them, because you're lucky. There's a lot of people that wish they could be doing this.
Yeah.
Yes. And be prepared. Be ready.
Yes. Yeah. Please be prepared. Oh my gosh.
So I know, Jimmy, that you're a big wine guy. You love wine.
I do.
Right. on the Appletinis show, we drink Appletinis. Just saying.
That makes sense.
It makes sense. It does.
Can't drink Appletinis. I've been sliding into the bourbon lane there. So
Dan gave up on the Appletinis. They were a little too strong for him. So
yeah, they sound a little sweet for me. That's my fear.
It's like a Jolly Rancher. It's like an apple Jolly Rancher. That's how good they are.
Yeah,
it's like eating candy.
Not a selling point for me.
Okay, but anyway. What's your favorite drink? What would you, if you go out, you're at a bar, boom, what are you drinking?
I mean, wine is what I drink the most. Like because wine, I rarely get tired of it unless it's just like a wine I don't like if it's not a good wine or if it's not my palate, as you know. So my favorite drink though, I mean, wine is the thing, but when I go out, occasionally there's bars I go to. If it's not a wine bar, more than likely the wine is not going to be very good.
Right.
Unless it's like a nice restaurant or something. So then I'm usually going to have, honestly, like a dry gin martini is my go-to drink. I don't like sweet. And so I love anything that's bitter or dry. That's what I love. So that's why I like basically the gin martini I get is extra dry, so it's really just like gin in a glass that's cold.
Cold gin.
Basically with like a twist. That's my go-to
What's your
at a
favorite
bar.
gin?
That's a great question. Should get more into gins because I drink so much wine. All my focus is on there. I love wine, and for gin, again, I think I there are certain styles that I like more. Like I love like a London dry gin. There's a lot of different people that make that kind of style, but I like that style, and so I usually go with those because there are some gins that like I think I'm really sensitive to the sweetness of some things, and so like there's some gins that have a lot of stuff going on where I'm like, this is a little too sweet, even straight up. It's like
Yeah.
there's a sweetness to it that I don't like. We're throwing in so many different botanicals or all this different stuff. Sometimes it's a little too much for me, and I just want it nice and dry and clean. So honestly, my go-to, I'll just say though, like just because it's everywhere, is Hendrix probably, because that's like like everywhere and it's nice and dry and it usually does it for me.
As a matter of fact, it's right here under my bar. Look at that.
There it is.
And there
If
it
you
is.
get a chance,
Boom.
Melissa's the same. She that's her go-to is gin in martinis. Usually, she likes it with a lot of olive brine. But
dirty.
she loves Sipsmith. It's another really dry English gin. So if you get a chance to find that, check it out.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
So what's your spot out in LA? You're going to go out for a drink. You're going to go out for an evening with your fiance. Where do you go?
It's a couple spots I love. So if I'm doing wine, I'm gonna go. Well, unfortunately, one wine bar I really like to go to, and there's many. They had a fire, and so they're in the middle of rebuilding, but that probably won't be until later, like late this year when they reopen, is my guess. I hope, we all hope. But that was called Augustine Wine Bar, really great spot. But they have a sister restaurant called Mirabelle. And that spot is really good. I love going there. It's in the valley here, over in Valley Village, as they call it, which is like north of Hollywood and all that stuff in the valley. And that's a really great spot. But then I live in Burbank, and right here in Burbank, there's a bar that I love going to called Guildhall. It's actually kind of like a gamer bar. They don't have video games to play. It's not like a barcade or anything. But what it is the whole theme of the restaurant is just based around video games. They do have a nice big wall of board games that anyone can just play with anytime. But you wouldn't think it, but it's probably the best cocktail bar like in kind of this area. Like they make really good drinks and the food is really good. So I really love going there, and it's just a fun place. It's really chill. And so yeah, that's like if I'm not doing wine or I'm gonna go out, we'll go there because they make some cool stuff. They make really good cocktails. They make anything you ask, and the place rocks.
I thought when you started that story, I thought you were going to say, yeah, there's this one place that I can't go to anymore because they banned me and kicked me out. I was kind of hoping that's where it was going to go. I was like, yes, tell me more. Tell me more.
No, there's one bar I haven't been back to yet that I was so drunk when I left that I just don't know if I'm allowed back. I really don't know. I'm just like curious if I go there, what will happen? Because I did spill a drink, and I just wonder.
Was that the bar we were at just this past Christmas in Annapolis, you and me?
Yeah. That was a different experience. Oh my gosh. That was
a fun night. That was fun,
but I have no memory of a chunk of it. I
Let me tell you, you were fine. You behaved yourself just fine. There was no, there were no incidences or anything that, yes, it was fantastic. It was a good evening. We laughed, we had fun, and then we all went home. Yeah, so.
Yes. I mean, I had just come off a flight that night, and I did not sleep at all because my flight was at 5 in the morning here. So I had to get to the airport at like 3. So I really just didn't sleep. So then I took a Xanax on the plane to sleep. And I think that then later that night, I probably still had maybe a little bit of that in there, plus the fact that I barely slept, and then add alcohol. And yeah, I just remember we were talking on the patio, chatting, and then I woke up in my bed the next day. So I had to look in my email to see, okay, we did take an Uber, because I know we didn't drive, but I was there. There's the Uber receipt. I was like, okay, because
I was there. I stayed with you and your dad till you guys got in the Uber and made your way home.
I'm sure he was drunk too. I'm sure it was just two people just just like, like I'm sure that's what it was.
Nah, you guys were fine. You guys were fine. Dan brought it up the other day about how we've been following you on Instagram, and you're posting all these workout videos. What's going on, man? Go ahead, Dan.
Oh,
What you
yeah.
had a question for him about it?
You're I know you probably wouldn't be able to talk about it, but you're taking over Reacher, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, yeah, Little Reacher. Yeah, I don't think so. No, I just love. I've been always. I used to work out a lot years ago, and then I didn't, and then I did again, and then COVID came, and that was just a great time to eat and drink, and not work out. And so finally, I wanted to start working out again, and yeah, I started doing this thing called F45, which is actually one in Annapolis, I think, at the Harbor Center. It's just like a nice boot camp class. It's 45 minutes, so I can just go there in the morning, and it kicks my butt.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it is really it's really intense, and yeah, I just started doing it, and then I feel like last year is when I started to really hit it hard, and I'm feeling good. I really like working out. It's not really for anything but me, at least right now. And I just wanted to get in, lose weight, be in better shape, and I am. And I think working out feels good. I feel better. But you've been working out too, there. Okay, you little fit Santa.
I got to a point where my doctor was like, "Look, you're gonna die if you don't change the way you eat and change what you're doing." So my blood pressure was crazy high, and I was feeling it. I was feeling it all day, every day, all different kinds of things. And my doctor said, "Look, you got to lose 40 pounds. You got to get back in the gym." And so I did, and changed the way you eat. And I'm in better shape. My blood pressure's still high, but I'm getting there every day. It's a journey, man. It's a thing, right? So I got to this point in my life where I said to myself, "This is what I do now. That's it. This is it. I get up in the morning. I go for my 2-mile walk. I just do it. I don't, even when it's raining, even when it's cold, even whatever it is, I'm out there and I'm doing it. And then I get home, I make sure that I eat the right things, and then I go to the gym every day at 1:30. I work out for my hour in the gym, do my strength training, and then it's just about being consistent. You know that, and being disciplined, right? And I say to myself every day, it's just what I do, because there are many days I don't feel like doing it. Yeah, I'm just like, I could just. It's raining. I might as well just not do it. But you know what? I do it anyway. So,
yeah, I think having that routine and doing that is exactly, it's a good thing, for sure. And yeah, though I will say, because you go work out alone, right? You just like go to a gym and work out.
I do. Yeah, a friend of mine has a personal training studio, and from 1 to 4 o'clock every day, he's not training clients, so I'm in there by myself, which is fantastic. I don't have to wait on machines or anything like that, and I just I can yell if I want. I can do, listen to whatever I want on the radio. I can do whatever I want in there, and I'm not, I'm not worried about anybody else.
Yeah. See, I don't know if I could do that. That's the thing, is because that's why like what I do is like more of a boot camp kind of a class, and there's other people there, and I feel like I need those other people to motivate myself, because I feel like if I'm alone, I won't be the one to hold myself accountable, and I will want to cut corners or do a few less reps or not do another set or something. Whereas there, I'm pushing myself because I want to. I feel like there's a little bit of competitiveness, but B, it's also just having other, like, there's coaches there that are going like, come on, let's keep going, do it, let's go. Or I've become friends. The community has helped me too there. It's a very good community, and so like I've become friends with some of them, and occasionally I'll work out with one of the coaches will work out with me, and then like they'll be like, okay, during this rest break, we're not going to rest, we're going to do this, and I'm like, okay, well, I hate you, so stuff like that, and we'll just do these workouts that are really tough, and it's great, and I like it. I'm happy to do it, and I just feel better in it. Yeah, it's definitely been a good thing. I think working at, you gotta stay healthy, especially as we get older, right? And you guys are both ancient. So I know people in my family and people in my life who, struggle now that they're older because they didn't work out. They didn't care about, building up muscle or having anything. So now they're struggling, and it's like, I don't want that to happen to me. So, and I will not. So I'm like, I'll do what I got to do.
Good for you, because that's where it all starts, And I kind of like working out with other people too. I don't mind that. It's just that's where I'm at right now. I get to use this
Sure.
gym, and
Yeah, it's a great deal.
yeah, it's a great deal. And every once in a while, what I'll do is I'll join a class just to be around other people and have somebody pushing me. So,
Sure.
every once in a while, just to give me a kick, kick me in my butt and be like, all right, let's go. So I need that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we all do sometimes.
Yeah. So we had Francesca Capaldi on last week, and she was another Disney actress. She was on Dog with a Blog and did a couple of the other spots on like Jessie and Ant Farm and things like that. And she's now she's stars in the Last Night at Terrace Lanes that Ken is also in, and she's kind of making that transition from Disney child actor to trying to be an adult. Not an adult actress, but an actress who is an adult.
Yeah. Though, hey,
I know you've gotten into adult acting there, Jimmy. So
yeah,
that's a path that you've walked. We've talked about a little bit. I just wanted to, can you talk a little bit about that? What your experience was making that transition, and what probably similar to what you had said earlier. But what advice do you have for people that are kind of coming out of that? I was a child actor, and now I'm trying to be an adult actor.
it just depends because you can be pigeonholed sometimes into things or whatever. I mean, I think I was a little lucky where I was doing the Disney stuff, but I also did get to kind of play on some other shows at the same time, or even before I did Liv and Maddie, I'd already kind of gotten to do, like, I did a couple episodes of Shameless. I did, a little bit of Parks and Rec, and then I think like it might have been. I mean, I think it was right after we kind of finished Liv and Maddie, or at least in one of those last seasons, I did Blockers, which was not, a movie for children. I think that I just got lucky with the right auditions, but I think it's too, acting for children is very different than acting for adults. And so you have to be able to understand that and know that it's not the same thing. And it's also really tough because when you work on a kids show, because there's kids everywhere, all they do is constantly tell you how great you are. They just constantly compliment you. It never ends. And they just compliment you and compliment you and compliment you. And if you're not careful, and I've seen it happen, people will believe. There's a girl in my acting class who had told us a story that basically that happened. She worked on a Nickelodeon show for 4 seasons. She was a series regular, and by the end of the show, because they had just complimented her so much, she thought she was like Meryl Streep. She thought she was an amazing actor, and she went out and started auditioning, and she wasn't booking. And not only was she not booking, but then her agents were getting negative feedback.
Wow.
And it's because, what she was doing was probably fine for that show. It was good for the kids. It was fun, and it was probably nice and broad and big and great. And they were, she probably did a great job on that show. But when that doesn't always, you can't do that for everything. And you have to be able to make those adjustments. You have to know your medium. If you're doing film, you can't act as big. And if you're doing TV, you can act a little bigger than film. But if you're doing children's TV and it's a multi-camera sitcom, now we can get bigger. And, there's lots of different levels. And so like that girl, she kind of told us the story, and she had left our acting class to film this show and came back and told us this story and was like, I'm back here because I realized I need to keep working on this. And so like, you do have to be careful with that. And I think it's just being self-aware and knowing, okay, I did this, but I know now if I want to make this transition, I'm going to have to start working on maybe these other abilities over here and these other skills so that I can make that transition. Whereas I think there are some people who do Disney who feel like, well, and everyone, I think it's with the fame and stuff. Some of them feel like, well, the way to transition is just to start doing crazy adult things in public, and maybe people will take me more seriously. But that doesn't, I think, always work either. I think really being self-aware and just always trying to work on yourself, as I said before, I think is a very important thing. And being able to appreciate a compliment, because listen, who doesn't love a compliment? Actors especially, we live, we love them. But being able to go, thank you, but know that, don't go, I am amazing. I'm incredible. I'm perfect. You're lucky to have me. Just trying to let yourself chill.
Be humble. Right?
Yeah,
Be
exactly.
humble.
Just be humble and just, be grateful for what you got.
Yeah.
Because so many actors on, especially Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, and any TV shows too. Sometimes when that show ends, so does your career. You just never know.
Never know.
So you need to be appreciative and say and really enjoy those moments.
So, Jimmy, I got a question for you.
Mhm.
Other than a comedy of horrors, of course, we were in that film together, but not in the same segment of the film together.
No,
But do you remember the first movie we were in together?
I do.
Oh, which one was it?
Yep, that was that really sweet gay porn we did called
Exactly.
Backdoor Patrol 7. That was awesome. No, the
Ah,
first movie we ever did was oh gosh, they changed the title of it. Oh, An
yes, they did.
American Affair. An
Yes, An
American
American
Affair.
Affair,
That's it.
2008. Wow.
Yeah, that's when it came
2008.
out, but I think we filmed it in like 2006 or 5
Seven.
or
Yeah,
something.
something like that.
Yeah, 'cause I
Gretchen
remember
Mall. Yeah.
I was like 15 or 16 at the time, I think, when we were filming that.
Gretchen Mall was in it.
Mhm.
I'm in it, or at least my butt is in it.
Yeah,
Right.
a great
So
butt. It's a great butt.
thank you, thank you, thank you. My butt was in it. I was actually up for the role of one of the guys that she has a fling with in that movie, An American Affair. So, unfortunately for me, that didn't work out because my wife was like, "Nope, you're not doing that role."
Right.
And yet, my butt still made it in the movie.
Yeah.
I
So
know.
take
It's
that.
amazing.
Take that, wife.
I know it. Take that, wifey.
And ever since, he's been showing his ass in all the rest of his movies.
Oh, have I? Well, I did in the patrol one with Jimmy.
That's right.
That was more recent, Jimmy. I said the
Yeah.
first movie we did. The first one.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought you meant the first adult film.
no, not the best one we did. I said the first
Yeah.
one we did.
The most passionate one we did.
What else you got going on? You got anything coming up other than that? I know you're busy with Not Dead Yet because you guys are still.
Yeah, I mean that right now is taking it and we're in January here, or I guess February now, whatever day this will be airing. It's always kind of slow at the beginning of the year, especially we just came off that strike, so right now my whole attention is on Not Dead Yet, but more opportunities are arising. I've got an audition I'm going to work on here this week. Tomorrow I've got a table read for Not Dead Yet. I'll probably start filming that next week. So that's pretty much taking up my time right now. And I'm even though I'm working in that, I still have a couple other jobs that I do too, that I was doing during the strike that I'm just doing still. I work at a wine bar and stuff like that on a couple days a week if I'm not filming and stuff, just to stay busy. And I teach acting as well, mostly to kids, which is fun. I do that on the weekends, which I think is a great thing to do too, because that really helps me be more technical and think about it more. Like it's almost like me taking a class sometimes too, because you're really having to analyze and think, and
Definitely.
so that's been really fun too. So I'm really happy that I get to teach, and that's really fun for me. I'm just focused on Not Dead Yet right now, and I'm looking for. I think this is going to be a good year, and I think that in the next month or two, or even just I think things will pick up a little bit, and I don't think it's going to be crazy, but I think it's going to be nice. It's going to be steady, and hopefully I'll have something even more fun to talk about in the future.
Yeah, I was going to ask, and you just mentioned with the teaching and the wine bar during the strike. How did you fill your time? What'd you get into? Fight Club, or obviously you were working out and.
A lot of Fight Club. Yeah, so much fighting in a club. I ended up working at a restaurant for a minute, but I did not enjoy that, where I was working. And so then I ended up switching over to, I work at this wine bar called Wife in the Somme. That's a great spot. And then I also work at a liquor store just one day a week. It's a place that I would frequent all the time. I was just a regular customer there. I was good friends with the owner and the employees, and he asked if I wanted to do my own tasting on Thursdays there. And so I started doing that.
Nice.
So that's really fun. I'm still doing that right now.
You put the tasting together, like you decide what wines, or they
not
have a distributor that.
usually. Occasionally, I might pick something here and there, but it's usually like the owner he kind of has a plan sometimes for the day of what he's trying to do and stuff like that. So, because he likes to educate too, and he likes to show people new things and let people approach wine differently. And so he'll sometimes pick out a plan because he wants to see, he wants to show people something, and so he'll do that. But then maybe I'll throw in something, or we'll talk about, do you think this is a good order, or what should we change? And we'll talk about it, stuff like that. So I'm doing that to stay busy, which has been great. And I'm really grateful to them for that. And then the teaching, I mean, I do that every weekend almost, so that I've just been trying to stay busy as much as I can. And during the strike, that's really all you could do, because there's nothing. In terms of my industry, I couldn't do anything. because, you know, if I'm a union actor too, right? I'm in SAG-AFTRA, and so as soon as we struck, that was it.
Yeah.
And even then, once the writers were striking, that was pretty much it, because it's very
Yeah.
hard to
Cross a
film
line. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
when you know, you want to support them, and I do, you know, I
Yeah.
do and did and still do support them. Once that happened, you know, I can't do non-union work. I can't do any of that stuff. And so you got to do what you got to do to stay busy. And so I think I I think I walked the line like once or twice, but really I just worked a lot. You know, there's a lot of people that were picketing and stuff, and I did it a couple times, but yeah, I was just like, you know, if I'm not going to work, I work as an actor, I'm just going to work as much as I can, try and make some money, save some money up. And then, you know, once the strike ends, get back to it, hopefully. And thankfully, not dead yet, you know, started right back up. And I think I was one of the, you know, I consider myself very fortunate, because there's only a few people, there's a handful of actors out there that got to go right back to work when the strike ended, because, they weren't jumping to start new shows right away. Really just shows that were already kind of existing that kind of went back to work. And so I feel very fortunate that I got to do that.
So we're going to wrap this up. I mean, we've been on for an hour. So we thank you for your time, Jimmy. Thank you so much for coming on.
Where can people find you online?
Oh, online. You can find me, at Jimmy Bellinger on Instagram. Occasionally I'll post on there. I do technically have a TikTok, which is at Jimmy the Bellinger. I will be on. I'm trying to post on that more, but I'm be honest. I am so garbage at social media. I'm trying my best. Like, I would love to just make a little bit more money so I could make someone else do it for me. That would be my dream. Then I can not care about it, and it would be just the best thing in the world. But yeah, so at Jimmy Bellinger on Instagram. I think that's the best place to find me. I think you got it right here on your screen. So I think that's the best place to find me.
Awesome.
So thank you guys so much for having me, though.
Oh, you're welcome.
Fun, man. Great to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. It's been a blast. So could you wrap the show up for us, Jimmy, and throw it to that song we all know and
right.
love?
Yeah. So this was Jimmy Bellinger hanging out on Appletinis, the podcast, with Ken Arnold, the Summer Santa, and Dan Franco, the guy who's in a black shirt. And you guys, here we go. We're going to go out with this beautiful, amazing song that is, again, what I think we all heard is the best part of this show. So I think you guys take it away and have an awesome day.
Appletinis with Ken. Appletinis with Ken. Oh yeah. Appletinis with Ken. Oh. Appletinis with Ken. Oh yeah. Oh. Appletinis with Ken. Appletinis with Ken. Oh yeah.